Hello! In this first tutorial we're just going to look at some really simple ways that you can draw a character's head. Now obviously this is the best place to start if you're going to be drawing comic books. Obviously you're going to be drawing people, so best place to start with really is the head and the face. So to get us started we're going to look at roughing out with some pencils, just some shapes here, just to get our framework that we're going to build up from. So you start with a circle for the upper part of the skull, and then we're going to add in a shape for our jawline. Now obviously, depending on what character you're drawing, you can adjust the shape of that jaw to be narrower or wider. So once we've got our shape here, we're going to start looking at our center line for the head. Obviously this is where our nose is going to be along this line, and right across the middle we're going to draw a line, so somewhere in between the top and the bottom, because one mistake a lot of people make when they're drawing and they're just beginning is they draw the eyes too high up. Because when you look at a person's face, the eyes are higher up on the face because our hairline will be lower down here. So you imagine the eyes are higher. In fact, the eyes are somewhere sort of in the middle of the skull. So once you've got that central line, you can rough in where your eyes are going to be. Now, a general rule, which is quite good to follow, when you're adding the eyes on, kind of leave about an eye's width between them. So if you imagine like a cyclops with one eye in the middle, and that's roughly where the eyes are going to be, either side of that. Now, from that central line here to the chin, I'm going to do another line, which is roughly halfway between the two. And that is where the nose is going to be. So we just add a little line, a little shape there for the nose. Now again, obviously the shape of the nose is going to change dependent on your character, but for now we've got the rough idea. And then between that line and the chin, we're going to do another line, and that's roughly where the mouth is going to be. So again, you've got your skull shape. Halfway across is where the eyes are, halfway between that and the chin is where the nose will be, and halfway from the nose to the chin is where the mouth will be. Now another guideline which is good to follow, the ears are usually going to be somewhere between the eyes and the bottom of the nose. There we are. Now you can go ahead and add in the shape of where you want the hair to be. If you're adding hair, that is. You could be drawing Lex Luthor, in which case you won't want to add a hairline. There we are. You can go and add some eyebrows and start filling in some of those details. Little line for the nose here. Add some more shapes in. Maybe even start adding some details to that hair if you wish. Now again, this is only going to be rough, so it doesn't matter if you make any mistakes. You can always rub them out, because you're doing this bit in pencil very lightly. Then you can always go ahead with a trusty eraser and take any of that out. So I always like, once you've roughed it in, if you lightly erase it so that part of it's still there, you can then come in and start adding details again with a pencil over those rough lines. Ooh. Try not to press too hard like I just did and break the lead. You can just start to bring those details out darker with your pencil. Obviously we're still doing this quite rough, so we're not adding all of our details in yet, because we can go over again and rub some of those details out if we want to add any more. So there we are. That is a quick face tutorial from the front side. Now the same thing would apply if you wanted to draw a character from the side. I will go over in other tutorials how to do some of the different details separately, so that you get a rough idea of how to draw eyes and noses and so on. But we could do the same again from a side profile. So got the circle shape for our skull, and now we're again going to add in our jaw. But we're doing it from the side this time. Now obviously a few things that we will have to add that we didn't have to add from the front would be eyebrow, which again, if you're going about halfway, is where the eyes would be. So we'll have our brow, and nose will come out again, which between there and there, about halfway. And then between there and there, mouth again. So we'll have to add a few extra details, like shapes for the lips, the chin, the nose poking out, the brow. But other than that, all the details will remain the same in the same place for this angle. Eyes again, nose. We'll show you where the ears will be. Just add a little neck, and then again, wherever you want that hairline to be. Now again, if we wanted to add more details, we're going to take some of those guidelines out. We're going to rub this out lightly to keep a lot of that detail that we had slightly visible. But now if we wanted to add, say, a pair of sunglasses, once we start putting that detail back in, we can allow for some of those things we want to add on. So we want to give this guy a beard. We've got a Tony Stark type character. Little shadow under the chin there. And just see a little bit of the eyes behind those sunglasses. And we have a side profile as well. So you can see that using those groundworks, those little bit of a frame that we're building up, we're basically, we're drawing the skeleton. Sort of what we're doing here. Halfway. Halfway again. And then halfway again. You know, we are literally building it up. A skeleton. And we are just adding in the missing pieces over the top. There we are. Simple as that. Anyone can do it. All you need to do to start off with is your circle shape and add in that jawline. And just remember the halfway rule. Halfway for the eyes, halfway between there and the chin for the nose, halfway between the nose and the chin for the mouth, and then between the eyes and the nose is where you're going to put the ears. And that is how you can use those shapes to construct a simple human head. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.